Hello, YouTube. I'm so happy to be here with my good friend, Michael Espinoza, a very good guy that I've known for about 2 or 3 years. And he's the owner of San Antonio Business Calendar or sabusinesscalendar.com. That's where they get a list of all the events, the business events that are happening in the city. Hello, YouTube. I'm so happy to be here with my good. And pardon that. And he's just a really smart guy, a very smart, creative business person. I really like people who can combine being good at business with also creativity. And that's something that he combines that I think he does a very good job at. So today I'm very excited to have you. How are you doing today, Michael?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. Great introduction. I appreciate all of that. And has it already been a 2-3 years since we've met? God, time flies, doesn't it?
That's what it seems like. You know, this past year, 2020 seemed like 5 years to me. That's what it's.
I agree with you there for sure. It has been a crazy time for events. I mean,
definitely.
Definitely a crazy time for events.
So let's start with that, since you opened with it's a crazy time for events. We're in a pandemic, right? A lot of things are online. What would you say is the biggest opportunity when it comes for people wanting to network for their business in the online world?
I think what I'm finding is just taking advantage of the virtual events. So I'm like a lot of you out there, I'm the same way. When it first happened, I'm a big networker. I was going to probably 8 to 10 events a week, sometimes more, sometimes up to 15. So I was in the groove. I would see Joseph there all the time, and at different events, and it was great. And then of course it came to a screeching halt. Yeah. And since our calendar aggregates all of the events, it's like our business basically stopped.
Wow.
So we were like, okay, what do we do? First of all, I was so used to networking.
Yeah.
One, what are we going to do just because I like doing that so much? But two, what are we going to do with the business? We knew there were virtual events out there, but they typically catered towards more national audiences.
Okay.
Where we were hoping, and that was one of the challenge of posting virtual events, because people would always ask us, why are all your events just the live events? Why aren't there any virtual events? And that was one of them, because there was geographically, they were all over the place. And we want to focus on a local market so local people can connect locally, which there's plenty of other sites and things to do go national. But then when this happened, we had to rethink everything. And go, okay, what are we going to do? So fortunately for us, and fortunately for, I think, all business organizations, they really pivoted fairly quickly, and they move things online. Everybody out there knows about Zoom fatigue, and how you're on Zoom, and but it was a great pivot, I think, for a lot of organizations, and that's what we saw. So slowly we saw them coming back. We took a few months off. We didn't post. We didn't put out our newsletter, and then we go, oh, look at this. So now we're probably at about 60 to 70% of the same amount of events there were before pandemic, and they're all virtual. There's a few live, a few in person still. There's a few of them, but yeah, we're about that point now.
Very good. What tips? Well, let's start off, because you're a networking expert. That's the way I see you. You were basically networking for, I would say, all over town. You were networking for a living, basically, right?
Yeah, because I was using networking to grow my business. So it was I built a business to do what I like to do.
Really?
And it helped build a business, because we didn't do it. I mean, we've been around for now 4.5 years now.
Wow.
And our subscriber base got up to about 17,000 people would get our emails. Wow. And so what I learned was going out, and that's why I encourage everybody to go out and network. And you and I have had discussions about introverts and stuff, and we can talk about that too. Yeah. But, just I think networking and meeting other people is probably the most underutilized resource a small business has to grow their business. It really, I mean, I honestly believe that. In the classes I teach, I say that, and it's just a big belief I have. And the more I'm in this, the more I believe it even more.
Yeah, you sort of see that. Do you have any examples of that, like of businesses that you saw where they started to implement more networking and you kind of got to see that transition or
Well, yeah,
transformation?
what I would run across, I can't, it's been a while since I can't name specific people, but what we would do is when we would go to events, when I say we, I want to clarify, um, I'm co-founder of this. So my son and I both do it together. So he's the other half of this, and he did just as much networking as I did, being younger than me. He went to different events, things like that, but we both saw a lot of the same things and we got a lot of the same feedback. People would literally come up to us, especially people in the service industry, people that are new, trying to build a network, trying to build maybe in the insurance industry, financial industry, industries like that. When you're new to, you got to build a network of people. They would come up to us and go, thanks a lot. And we appreciated this. Thanks a lot. You know, I've been using your calendar for 8, 9 months, almost a year now, been going to events. And now I have this network of people. Yeah. And that's probably the biggest thing is they were consistent at it. You don't have to be an expert at networking, right? Just consistently do it like anything else. You know, you want to get better at YouTube? Keep doing YouTube events, right? Keep doing events. keep doing live things. Keep doing it and practicing. You get better and better. You get better and better at it. That's the key. Really, that's the bottom line.
Yeah, nothing beats consistency. I agree with you on that. And you kind of learn as you do it, like you learn what's working and what's not working.
Yeah, exactly. You learn. Yeah. I think one thing a lot of people maybe don't do when they network, so they consistently get out there, but you tend to go to things that you're comfortable at. Events maybe you're more comfortable at. Maybe it's the chamber events and you go to a lot of the chamber stuff. And I did get a lot of feedback from people that said, Michael, I'm going to events, but it's just not paying off. It's not working. Mm-hmm. I said, before I even asked them what kind of events they would say, I would say you're going to the wrong events. I could tell right away because I've made the same mistake. All the mistakes we made going to all these events. That's why I go to so many events, because I make mistakes, go to the wrong things, probably that just don't pay off, whatever the case may be. And that's what I tell us, find the right events to go to. And sometimes going to the events that say networking this or networking that, or Tuesday networking or Thursday networking, maybe those aren't the right events for you because everybody else is there going for the same reason.
Yeah.
I think you and I, a long time ago, I think we had a conversation about this, if I remember.
We did.
We were talking about that, remember? Going to different kinds of events and
the comfort zone. So you were telling me to go to women's events.
Go to a women's event.
Or different events that,
And go to events where people don't, it's not all about just networking. It's about meeting, because I always tell people, I teach networking, I talk about networking, but what I really emphasize is building a professional network. Everyone needs a network of a good 100 to 150 people. And that's what the research shows we can kind of balance. Any more than that it's tough. So I encourage people to shoot for about 100 to 150 people in their network. Build it so that if you have a problem, you have an issue, you need some help, like yourself, you and I know each other. If I have a question, I wouldn't hesitate to pick up the phone and say, Joseph, hey, can you help me with this? And I know you'll help me out. And I'll always remember that. So when people ask me, who do you go for help? Joseph, or, whoever in your network. So you've got to build that strong network. Yeah. It's for everything, for your business, for your career, everything.
Yeah, it really helps for anything that you do to have a group of people that you can go to call upon or to help out, and they can come to you for help. That's so important. It takes a while to realize that, though, I think, or it did for me at least, maybe 1 or 2 years.
But you've got probably quite a network now, right? Of people you've met. Yeah.
Yeah. And I enjoy it too.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think people realize how much they enjoy it until they actually do it. And they go, wow, this is really great.
Yeah, it can be a lot of fun. Or you can, even if you don't like it, you can treat it like a game. That's another thing I think of. But what would you say are some do's and don'ts of networking? I think, I'll be honest, I've made some mistakes networking, maybe being too transactional.
You think that? Okay. Yeah, I'm curious. Share with me. I'm just before I answer, share with me as a networker. What do you think some of the things you did or you changed now? You've changed.
I think being too targeted towards I want to talk, because I'm a financial planner. I think it was a huge mistake for me to be I want to talk only to financially successful people. That was a mistake. And that was very early in my career. Wasn't as mature as I was now, and didn't understand business as well. But I think that has a certain energy, which is very off. And the correct energy is just, I want to go out there and find people that I can help, find people that in some way I can provide some value in their life, whether they're rich or poor, because sometimes the poor people will know people who have more money, but that's not the reason why. It's just because I think as you help people, you start to realize that it comes back to you in different ways.
And that's the key. I think you learn that it's a long game. It's like you got to play the long game. And the long game is you never know. Maybe somebody's working at a job, making, a decent living, but maybe they don't need or feel they need a financial advisor. But maybe one day they hit the lottery, or they inherit money from their relatives, or something happens. Boom, everything changes.
Yeah.
So the first thing I think about is, oh my God, I know Joseph. I know, I know Michael. Let me call them and let me ask them what I should do, because you want them to be the first people you talk to, and they're not going to do that unless they know, like, and trust you, and you've built that reputation. So you're playing the long game, and you honestly, truly want to help people. That's the key to the networking. It's just, you've got to truly want to help people.
Yeah,
you really do.
What would you say are some examples of common mistakes, just for like people who are new to networking, sort of like I was, maybe fresh in the business, just started at a job at an insurance agency or something like that? What would you tell them to not do?
Not just haphazardly start going to events. Most people, when I talk to people, how do you decide an event to go to? I don't know. I just hear about it, or somebody tells me about it. I say, be strategic and say, okay, what am I trying to do? What am I trying to accomplish here? And who can I help the most? Example, I lean towards helping families, young families, and young mothers, husbands, or whatever like that. You know your profile. So then you start thinking now, where would they go? Or what kind of events would they? Maybe it's too broad initially. So you go, maybe I'll focus on young married couples that are in architecture, or in architectural field, or in media, or something like that, and say, let me start going to some of those events for a while. And you go to them, and you learn that the nice part, the side effect of this, or the extra part, is this: you end up learning so much about other industries and things, and you broaden your horizons so much in doing this, and you start meeting some people, and you don't go to just one time. You go to the meetings regularly, and you start meeting them and getting to know them, and you start getting to, you start talking to them and become business friends, or professional relationships with them, and just see how you can help them.
Yeah.
And that's probably, they're not strategic in doing it. And I don't mean calculated in a negative way. I mean, just think about it. Let's do this for a little while. Let's see where the people I want to build my network in. Or another approach I tell people is, so let's say you're brand new to this. I want to build a network, okay? And I offer a product that can be used by all kinds of people. I don't sell one specific thing to one industry. It's like yourself. You can help people in all industries. It doesn't matter what industry the person you work with is in. They can be in technology, right? They can be in all sorts of industries.
True. Yeah.
So go, okay, kind of back to my example. Let's go meet. Let me get to know some people in the legal industry, and go out to some legal events, and just really bring them into your network, and keep talking to them. And then again, architecture, and pick some big industries that just you want to get to know more about, because those are big industries, and people you may want to network in or do business with sometimes are in those industries. So strategically pick those, and give yourself 3-4 months doing it.
Yeah. Or you might find that you get along well with people in certain industries, like lawyers, and be like, okay, or architects, and be like, okay, I want to start networking around them because I just get along well with them.
And you complement each other. You may complement each other.
Yeah, we complement each other, or you could be interested in it. You just want to learn more about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All of us have so many other interests, and sometimes as we get older, we forget we had interests in certain things, and then you start. That happened to me. I started going to different events in different industries, and forgot how much I had enjoyed finance, the stock market, things like that, that I originally maybe wanted to have that as a career. And I started architecture, things like that. It's like, wow, I forgot how much I enjoyed this. And I, again, opened up a whole new world.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's really like you can learn a lot too from networking. There's so many benefits to it. And just from talking to other people, you can learn a lot because everyone has a unique perspective and a unique story. So very cool. What are some lessons that you've learned in networking? I know we all start off maybe not the best at networking. You said you really loved it. So either what are some lessons that you learned, or why do you like it so much? Either question. If you,
I guess to me,
yeah,
the reason I like it so much, because people go, how can you go to that many events? I can't stand going to that many events, because they look at it as work,
yeah,
you know, and to me, I look at it as opportunity. If I go to X amount of events, I never know. I guess the thrill is I never know who I might meet.
yeah,
I've been to events, and at the last 10 minutes, the event's wrapping up. I may turn and talk to somebody, and then we end up talking for 45 minutes after that, because it was just a great connection with those people. So the reason I like it so much is because I never know who I might meet. I've met so many people in so many industries I never knew existed. I think I met a dog chiropractor, and
wow,
I mean, just things like, I didn't even know this stuff existed, or somebody that specialized in doing this, and I find it fascinating. So curiosity, I think, is just part of my nature, but I think everybody that wants to network should be curious.
yeah,
Be naturally curious, and that helps you a lot. Not
yeah,
only think about yourself, it's always thinking about the other person, you know.
yeah. Put yourself in their shoes and really listen. I think those are great tips.
Mistakes too. I think I found the same as you. As I think initially I came about it is, you want to just, because you're so excited about what you do, or how much you can help people, you just want to, like, whoa. And you have to tell yourself, you know what? It's about the other person.
Yeah,
To me, if I'm talking less in a conversation, then that's how I measure kind of a successful conversation. If I'm doing all the talking, I
yeah,
don't think that was very successful.
yeah. No, I'm the same. I'm on the same page as you. I kind of try to talk 20%, have the other person talk 80%. So we're at odds in this interview. No, I'm just kidding. But no, that's really cool. And I can relate, because you just reminded me of, like, you're so excited. I used to just give out my cards like candy, like no filter at all. Like, here's my card, like real slick, but like, you're not building a relationship that way. You're not going to build a
Exactly.
relationship just saying, hey, here's my card. Anyway, I'm gonna go talk to someone else.
I
Yeah.
tell people, to go to events and don't even take any cards.
Wow.
They'll say, do you have a card? Like, no, I don't. Can I have yours? I'd love to get in touch with you. And
Yeah.
if they're like, oh, I don't have one, they make up some excuse. That means they don't want to continue this,
Yeah.
But if they like, yeah, sure, here, give me a call, there's a bond there. And you already knew at that point, really. What I encourage people to do is connect on LinkedIn right there on the spot.
Yeah.
I mean, you can exchange cards, but pull out your phone and say, let's connect right now. Because I've never had anybody say no to connect to me right there on the spot. When they have their phone, you connect with them, and now you've got a connection.
Yeah.
Do it. Use the technology. I mean, that's the key. Use that technology we have.
Yeah. Use it to your benefit. And I don't think I've ever done that. But what do you think people should do after a networking event?
Yeah, that to me is the biggest challenge, and the thing I get asked the most when I do training classes. So typical training classes, I'll talk about different things to do during the event, before the event, but everybody wants to know is, how do I follow up? Because I think that is our biggest challenge. It was always my biggest challenge. Still, it continues to be my biggest challenge, is because you have to, for me to remember what you do, if we're not really close friends, for me to remember what you do, you've got to remind me, because I'm caught up in my world. And I get this all the time. People forget that there's a calendar. I've had conversations with people. It's so funny. They go, you know, man, if there was just some, if I knew the right events to go to, and then they go, oh, that's right. You have a calendar that, because they're just, they forget, so you've got to figure out a way to remind them and keep in contact with them. Because
Yeah.
let's say you get these, you build your network. How are you going to keep in contact with them? That's so important. And there's a lot of different ways to do it. But again, add value. add value, get to know them, and
Yeah.
sincerely try to connect with them on multiple channels. But find out what the best. Here's a tip that I learned: is find out the best way to connect with somebody when you meet them. And it's like, wow, this is great. This person, I want to talk to, when you have that feeling, I want to talk to them more. We don't have enough time to talk. I want to meet some, it's not about selling them anything. It's just like, this person is so interesting. I'd love to know them better. I'd love to learn more from them. So you ask them, what's the best way for me to contact you? Is it Facebook Messenger? Is it text messaging? Is it phone? We've got so many communication methods now. So if you find the right communication method, then it changes everything, because they'll respond to your email. There's plenty of times that I would email somebody that I met. I thought, God, really? I thought we had I thought we kind of connected. They seemed encouraged about meeting again, and they never got back to me. I sent them an email, nothing. Then I sent them a message on Facebook, and they responded in 30 seconds. Oh yeah, good to hear from you again. Because that's their preferred communication method.
Yeah.
I learned this kind of the hard way, but I did some testing with this too. I took 20 people that I met at events, and I tried to contact them all and set up appointments with them just to talk. And I used all those different methods, and it was evenly distributed. Some people preferred text, some people prefer email, some people prefer phone calls. And once I figured that out, I finally got through and connected with all 20 of them. So I kind of did my own test there to see what would work and how to do this.
That makes sense. Yeah, that's definitely happened to me too, where I felt like I had a good connection with someone. We were talking and like we had a good business connection, and then I email and I never heard back.
And I've had them tell me, because I'll go to another event, they go, why did you get in touch with me? It's like, I sent you like 2 emails. Oh, I never get to, my email box has 10,000 emails. I miss them all the time, or maybe it went to spam, and I'm over here thinking, God, what did I do wrong? Or, it's like, it just, the disadvantage of technology is that can happen.
A lot of
Don't
options.
assume they're ignoring you.
Yeah.
Just don't assume that.
Yeah, that's very smart. And I like the idea of linking on LinkedIn, or connecting on LinkedIn as well. That's a good idea. Wanted to ask you if you have any favorite stories from your time networking.
Trying to think back, because unfortunately it's been a little while. I can tell you some current things that I've done, which is probably more timely for the audience here, is, I get that. How do I network now in this environment? I don't want to go to events, play it, safe, and I understand, me too. So I did kind of experiment, and I did some online networking events. And what I did was doing like you and I are talking here, I was in an event with this was a national event. So there's been about 80 people on a Zoom call.
Yeah.
I said, how do you network in something like this? But everybody's introducing themselves and stuff. So I had LinkedIn up at the same time we were doing it, and some interesting people that would introduce themselves. Like, wow, I'd really like to meet that person. Because now we've launched calendars in different cities now, not just San Antonio. So I'm trying to build my networks in these other cities. And people would introduce themselves like, wow, that's a really interesting person. I'd love to hear their feedback about the calendar and what we're doing. So I'll look them up on LinkedIn as we're talking, and I'll mark to connect with them. And right after the event, I'd like, hey, we met, I saw you on Zoom. I thought it was really great that you're doing that. But 100% connection rate.
Yeah.
I picked like 10 of them, and all 10 of them accepted my LinkedIn connection.
Wow, that's awesome.
So that was kind of recently, in the last couple of months, I've done that a few times. I don't just sit there and try to connect with everybody on the Zoom call. It's just certain people that catch my attention, or you may look at some people and you'll see the background, or maybe their company logo or something, and you go, I might want to meet that person. So jot their name down, do a little research, find out, and reach out. I mean, maybe they don't want to connect with you. That's okay. That's part of the networking thing. Some people just don't get it. Or don't want to. That's fine. But I find more often they do than not, which is I always found very rewarding and interesting.
Yeah, people are usually more open to it. So there's even nowadays on a Zoom call, when there's not a lot of one-on-one conversations, you can still find ways to connect with people. think that's a good lesson. Very good. And let me see here. Do you have any favorite events in the city? I know we're in San Antonio. It's hard to say like in the world. I know YouTube is national.
I mean, probably the events I like to attend the best are the ones with panels of speakers. And I encourage people to take advantage of it, because some people go, oh, that's just a panel of experts. That's not a networking event. Absolutely not. So that's not true. So maybe there's somebody in the industry, say you're in, and some people, a lot of people, professionals know this, but maybe that are in that industry. Maybe it's an architectural event and there's a panel of all the top architects in San Antonio. You go to that event, you can meet other architects that maybe you haven't met before or network with, but then you have the opportunity to meet one in the panel. Or I look for panels of people that somebody I specifically want. Another thing I tell people to do is have a list of people you really want to network with and connect and add to your network. You know, in the city, key people in this city. I would like to know the VP of so-and-so at this company. I'd like to know the president and the CEO of this company. At first you think, there's no way, I'm never going to be able to meet that person. I couldn't even send an email to them. But when their company has a grand reopening or an expansion in a new building and they have this big party and they're all there and you go to it and they're right there and you go introduce yourself to them, happened to me multiple times. Wow. You know, that you have that opportunity, and city officials, maybe there's certain city officials you want to meet, things like that. You go to the events and introduce yourself to them, especially when they're on panels, because what happens is there's something about, because I've been on a lot of panels myself, speaking. And what happens is you're in that mode of talking. Mm-hmm. So when you get off that panel, you know, people come up and you start talking, you interact with, you give them your card. It's just something about that feeling, because you've been sharing so much with who you're talking to. You're in that sharing mode. So people come up to me and I may be more apt to talk to them more there, or at least, hey, connect with me, let's talk more about it, than I would in other situations. Just an observation, a technique I've used pretty successfully over the years.
Okay. Panelist events, and then really being strategic about who you want to meet in the city that you're in. And where would they be? Because the opportunities sooner or later will come up. Is there a specific situation in there? You don't have to name the person where you were successful in that.
Yes, there's a couple of city officials, a couple of some chamber presidents, and people that I really couldn't get directly to, but I happened to go to an event. I hung around till the end of the event, and people, you know, a lot of these events, like say they start at 5:30 and end at 8.
Yeah.
Okay. So the people attending them from the group that maybe I want to meet, guess they have to hang around for the whole thing. It's their event. Yeah. But towards the end, people go home, they get tired. So the audience thins out and there's just a handful of people. And when they're wrapping it up, sometimes that's your opportunity to go up and introduce yourself. Yeah. You know, after they turn it off a little bit, because we all kind of turn it on. We have to, you know, get hyped up, but after it's like calm, like, hey, how you doing? And then, you know, I've met many, some city officials, some CEOs, some prominent people, I guess, you know, in the community that way, specifically that way, or even hanging around after and say, hey, you know what? Let me help you guys clean up. Wow. You got a big mess here, you know? There's only a couple of you here. I know what it's like. I've done events. Let me help you. And you just help them and talk to them as you're helping them out. Yeah. Okay.
So you found a way to provide value. That's awesome. I really love that idea. And you're meeting the right people. That's good. That's cool. Yeah, I really like the way you think about that. I think it's really a good idea to stick around towards the end. But sometimes introducing yourself can be a little uncomfortable for people. Maybe if they're newer. Sometimes people are very shy.
Yep.
What advice would you have for people who are more shy or just feel uncomfortable going up to a group of people and saying, hey, my name is Joseph?
What I like to do, and I think you've been to a few speed networking events yourself, right? Have you been to a speed networking event?
I don't think I have. I'd like to go though.
So I recommend people do speed networking events. Now, of course, well, you can do them virtually too. So the idea of a speed networking event is like speed dating. You basically have X amount of people, and in certain period of time, you have to introduce yourself to each other and have a conversation one-on-one.
Yeah.
So when we've thrown them ourselves in the past. So let's say there's 30 people in the room.
Mhm.
The event takes 2 hours, 2.5 hours. You literally have to sit face to face or stand, sit, however they, and you can do it one-on-one or in a table environment and go from table to table. But you're introducing yourself over and over again, and you're talking to people, letting them know what you want to do. So if you're kind of uncomfortable with that, if you do a few speed networking events, by the time you finish those, you're going to be completely comfortable, because what you're doing is, even if from an event point of view, it wasn't that successful and maybe you building your network is as big as you like or meeting as many people, you still are practicing the art of introducing yourself, the elevator pitch, whatever you want to call it. Everybody, there's different names for it, but that's just that introduction and how to convey a message about yourself to other people in a quick, concise way, because that's the trick. Once you get comfortable with doing that, you don't even think twice about it. So speed networking events, doing it multiple times in one, you do it 30 times in one night, introduce yourself for 1 minute. Believe me, by the end of the night, I don't care how introverted you are, how uncomfortable you are, you got it down after the 30th time.
That makes sense. Yeah, you're just you're flexing that muscle. You're getting stronger in that area.
That's why I tell people, keep going to events, because you've got to practice. You've got to practice. You can't just skip 6 months and then get right into it. It's a I have to do that. Everybody's got to do it.
Yeah.
I like your analogy. Flex the muscle. That's key. I'm going to steal that if you don't mind.
Go ahead and steal it. I love it. Very good. And wanted to ask you about how that idea. So at some point, right, San Antonio business calendars, SA business calendars was just an idea, right? Yeah. And we all had tons of ideas. So what made you choose that idea, run with it with your son to make it into this thing that's now all over the United States?
What I found was I was missing good events. So I'd talk to a friend of mine. They go, "Hey, Mike, did you go to that chamber, or did you go listen to so-and-so speak last Tuesday? I didn't see you there." It's like, I didn't know about it. Nobody told me about it, or I missed the email or whatever. I'm like, this is really upsetting. I keep missing good events. I said, there's got to be a calendar that'll keep me up on this stuff.
Yeah.
So there's some publications in town that I assumed might have one. And I looked like, wait a minute, they don't really have any event. So I kept looking. There's a lot of calendars that have to do with community stuff, arts, entertainment. There's a lot of great ones, but there was nothing dedicated just to business.
Yeah.
So my son was getting out of college at that point, last year in college. And most parents give their kids the advice, or other older people, that you need to start networking because you're going to be looking for a job, and you're going to be, and so I started putting that into his ear. And then he saw me kind of launch this thing, and it kind of meshed. He goes, "Let me help you out." He wanted to help me out, and it kind of grew from there. I thought it would be easy. I said, "Come on, how many events could there be, right? 2 or 3 a day, maybe?" Yeah. Well, just to give you an idea, in 2019, we posted over 10,000 events in the San Antonio area. Wow. Business related. So when I say business related, we're looking for events that a business professional can learn or learn or network at.
Yeah.
So, and it's 10,000.
Wow. That's so many.
And and you look at Austin, Dallas, those other markets are even more.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of events.
I could see a lot being in Dallas and in Austin too. A lot of tech events. Yeah.
A lot of tech. Yeah. A lot of tech event. So that's kind of how it was born. And then we just, I wanted it always to be free to the public. I wanted everybody to have access to it, because if not, I wanted to build a community, and I had it, I envisioned hopefully it would help people find events in other parts of the city. So they would kind of get out of their initial little area that most people stick to the same areas. They go to network events in the same area, they close to their house. We've got a lot of research and things we found, and we found a lot of the events are in certain key areas. They're always in these general areas.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of data we've been able to compile over the years too to help us, and we just hopefully it's helped people
Yeah.
grow and get better. And the feedback we've gotten has always been real positive. So
Yeah.
that's a good thing.
It's definitely helped me. I found one of my favorite events to go to, which is the executive book review here in San Antonio.
It's a
That is
great,
an amazing event.
it's a great, yeah. And I think they're thinking about how they're going to grow, that, because that's an excellent. You want to talk? Why don't you plug that one there? Tell the audience.
So I'm a lifelong learner. I love learning. I love self-development. And what they do is they have really good public speakers. I also love public speaking, who get up and review a book. And they'll do like an executive review of a book with audience participation. And it's just amazing. You have like really amazing public speakers talking about Think and Grow Rich, different books like that. And afterwards, there's networking. There's networking before and afterwards to discuss the ideas in the book, but also to get to know each other. And for my purposes, that's like a perfect one for a financial planner.
I thought after that, I thought a little bit about, could you do that with podcasts now or YouTube channels, or could you help tell people, because there's just so much information out there.
Yeah.
Again, we, like you said, we aggregate events, but there's so many other things that can be aggregated because everyone is so busy and there's so much good material just coming out faster than it's ever come out before.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, it's so true. There's like so much information. You don't know what's good and what's bad. So it's good to have like, the best of the best books being told by really good public speakers who can communicate the idea real clearly. So
Absolutely.
I love those events. Let me see here. So let's switch over to how technology can make life simpler, how it can connect us. I think that's kind of what we're talking about anyway, but that was the second topic.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I had in my favor in a sense in doing this is because I've been in technology for so long. So we've constantly been trying to automate this process and get it as easy as possible, because when we first started this, it took to find just 1 week's worth of events in the business community. It would take a person about 6 to 8 hours of digging on different websites, digging in Eventbrite, Meetup, all the different websites. That's why no one did this before, because there's no consistent way to get all these events. So we would do it by hand, literally. Wow. My son would do it by hand. I would help him out, and we would do this. And over time, we've automated the process using technology. But what I've also found is a lot of tools that'll help you network. And you've got tools now that will remind you to connect with people. There's one called COVEE, I think is I apologize, I should have had it.
Is it COVEE?
I think that's it. Yeah, let me pull up COE. Is it COVEE? I think that's it. Is that it? Maybe no.
That's okay. We can find it a little bit afterwards. Let's see here.
Yeah. So what I found was really nice about that is that's one of a few products I found out there that will. So you put it on an app on your phone. It looks at your contacts and it keeps track of when you contact people in your contact list. Okay. So let's say you and I talked today. We sent emails back and forth to each other, and then I can set it to remind me, hey, make sure and keep in touch with Joseph at least once every 3 months. So it'll say, hey, you haven't talked to him in 2 months, 2.5 months, make sure you're in contact. Because sometimes just time gets away from us.
Yeah.
Which COVID is a perfect example of it. My New Year's resolution was to get back in contact with people that I have not, been in contact with through COVID. And this is one example of technology. There's all these different little tools that will help you do that. LinkedIn's a perfect example.
Yeah.
People don't take advantage of it as much as I wish they would, as far as connecting immediately.
How do you think people could use LinkedIn more effectively for people, business people?
I think the most underutilized is finding the right people to connect with. So because a profile, so you have a tendency in business to know the type of customer that you're looking for. that fits your, that whatever your product is right for. So
Yeah.
LinkedIn gives you more detail, I think, than anything else out there, because you have their work history, you have, all of these details. So you can get a profile of, if my product was, when I had a technology consulting company, I knew my target market tended to be between 45 and 65, male and female company owners that had businesses more than 7 years old in the service industry.
Yeah.
So using a tool like LinkedIn, I can dig and find, this person is the CEO of this company. They've had that company 10 years. So that would be, hey, they might be a good target, somebody I may want to reach out to see if they need some help with their technology.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's, we're very concerned with how our profile looks and our picture and all that, which is important, absolutely. But look at the other side of LinkedIn, is how the data that's available to us. It's just incredible.
On people, you can basically get a list of leads or people that you want to meet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a good idea.
It's just, a lot of people don't want to spend the time. That's the key. It's time. It's just time. Like networking, it's time. People, I don't want to go to all those events, but it pays off. It pays off if you do it right and right consistently, like we said at the beginning.
That makes sense. And it gets easier too, because you get better at it the more you do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's a very good point. Is people, you talk to anybody that does it, they almost do it out of second nature. After you do it for a while, it's like, oh, am I networking? This is just what I do all the time.
Yeah. That makes sense. So you mentioned some cool like tips and ideas for when you're networking, like staying after towards the end. What are some other tips or things that you've learned? Not tricks. I'm not saying like we're being sneaky, but like cool things you can do that are kind of outside the box. That
volunteering. A lot of people don't think about volunteering to help at events. Oh, I don't have time to help. Because think about it. If you volunteer to help at an event, you're going to meet almost all the people involved in there.
Yeah.
And they're going to get to meet you and see you have a good work. You get in there, you help, you work hard. They're going to say, wow, this person has a good work ethic, man. They know how to get things done. Yeah. And then they'll remember that impression of you.
Yeah.
And that I think is key too, and also put numbers, have numbers. In other words, I want to grow my network to 100, another 100 people, 50 people. Okay. So I've got a spreadsheet where you can go and say, okay, 50 people. It usually takes a good 12 months to build it, to really start seeing good results in networking. 6 months you can if you're really aggressive, but 12 months is a good amount of time. So a trick is say, okay, I've got 12 months. I want to build my network by 50 or 60 people. Where are those 50, 60 people? They're in this industry, this industry. Now, if I go to an event, typically when you go to an event, you meet one or two good contacts at every event on average. So if you play the conservative, one person per event. So if I want to build my network by 50 or 60 people, I'm going to have to go to 50 or 60 events over the next 12 months and space them out. Every week I'm going to go to, if you go to 2 every week at 50 weeks, that's 100 events. So you really need to go to maybe 1 event a week consistently to build that network of 50 people, 50, 60 people.
Yeah. Very good. That makes sense. And so you were kind of a little bit earlier, you were talking about targeting people. When it comes to like someone who just got out of college, right? And they're not exactly sure what they want to do for a living, but they know they want to make some impact on the world. What advice would you give them when it comes to building a network and doing that? Because I know that's key. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You're going to need a network usually.
See, I think the young people right out of college, or even more importantly, in college, their last 2 or 3 years in college, or last year in college is there is an opportunity that you have that you'll never have again. And what I mean by that, this is not really a trick per se. I hate to use trick, but it's an opportunity, because what you'll find is most in the business world, most business professionals or most people that are very knowledgeable in the area, they have a lot of experience, have a tendency to want to give back.
Yeah.
And you want to give back, especially to the younger people who are just getting started, because you empathize with them. You know what kind of work they're going to have to go through, what it took to get to where you are. They have no idea what it's going to take to get, you can't fathom until you go through it. Everybody tells you it's going to be tough in the business world or whatever, but until you go through it, you never really know. So you take advantage of that in the sense that ask for help, ask for mentoring, go to these events with these panels of professionals, and afterwards walk up. Hi, I'm Michael. I'm just graduating from University of Texas at San Antonio, University of Texas at Austin. I'm not sure what I want to do. I'm kind of interested in the industry you're in. Would you have some time to just tell me about it? Tell me the pros and cons. And they're like, oh, yeah, most of them are like, well, yeah, I'm pretty busy, but you know what? Get on my calendar, call my secretary directly and tell her, I mean, this has happened to me in the past and happened to my son too. It's like, you tell them I was speaking at this event and I told you to call me and get you on my calendar. I'm like, wow, because they want to give back. So as a young person, do that in anything you may be somewhat interested in. Go to an event about it, architecture, art, whatever, and do that. Introduce yourself and say, I don't know what I want to do, but I would sure like some help. Just ask for help, I guess, is the bottom line. The short answer to your question, because I'm rambling, but short answer is just ask for help, because there's no better time than when you're young, right out of school, and that period of time. You'll find the most help.
Yeah, because people won't know that you want help if you don't ask. They can't read your mind, or they don't know you're interested in their industry. Go ahead.
Unfortunately, that's when you're most uncomfortable asking for help. Most people, there's some very extroverted people that'll go out there and ask, and those are great. But you see those people go, wow, I wish I could, be like them and just march up but you can, and once you do it one time, very uncomfortable. The second time, a little less uncomfortable, and more and more. If you're uncomfortable, take a friend with you to feel a little more comfortable at it. And both of you make your friend do it with you. So like, okay, I don't feel as bad because they're doing it too.
Yeah, there's two of us, the buddy system.
Yeah, buddy system. The buddy system. That's another thing you talked about, kind of turning networking into a bit of a game. That's another thing to do is people have a tendency to go together and then they stay together. So go together, but make it a game. Say, let's see who has the best, most interesting story at the end of the night of who they met. Yeah. And then you go off. And whoever wins buys me a drink or buys me dinner or something, whoever has the better story. Oh my, I met this guy who was a cattle rancher, then he invested in oil, and then he, or she started her own tech company when she was 19, and then, she got her master's, these stories is like, they're amazing, some of these people you meet.
It is, yeah.
And you can never tell by just looking at someone. You can't tell by looking at them what their past is. That's the other interesting part about it.
That is interesting. You kind of set me up for this question. What's the most interesting story that you've ever heard from someone or person that you met in networking?
Yeah, probably. Think back. That's a really good question. The first one that pops into my mind, and this may not be I'll use this one because it was a couple of guys that I had met, and it was at the end of an event, and I don't remember a lot of details. I'm getting older, so my memory isn't as good as it used to be. But I remember it was an event, and it was like a event, kind of like not a lot of people showed up. It was like it's kind of one of those events you go to. Should I have taken the time? We all have those. Should I have taken the time to even come to this thing? So I'm kind of walking out. These two guys are talking about some technology stuff, and it's like, oh, are you in tech? Oh, you just kind of start talking for some reason as you're walking out. And they'd worked at the same companies that I did. They had some great stories about meeting the CEO of Intel and Microsoft and tech companies that I'd worked for. And I mean, we literally probably talked for 2 hours afterwards. It was so interesting. They'd done a startup in Silicon Valley. They sold it. They were from here, or the family was from here, so they moved back, but they were going to go back to Silicon Valley and do another startup. So we're just talking and talking, you just couldn't stop talking. It's like, we have to go home. It's 10:30, 11 o'clock, but, This is some years back, but I distinctly remember that, how interesting that was, because you're almost walking out like, the event, it was okay,
Yeah.
but then boom, right? That's why I always tell people, be careful. Sometimes at the end, some of the best networking is done at the end of an
Yeah.
event. And that's one example, and one really great, because the stuff they had done at such a young age, it was just fascinating.
Yeah.
Companies, and went public, and they made a bunch of money, just all the things you read about all the time. It's like, oh, these guys had done it,
Yeah.
and they
Like,
share the bad part, the negatives, like, oh man, it was so hard. We used to work these many hours, that kind of stuff.
yeah. That's interesting. I'm picturing like Steve Jobs. I'm remembering like Steve Jobs used to like sleep under his desk, something like that.
Yeah.
That type of like startup, and then the aggressiveness of startup. So that makes sense. Very cool. Um, Let me see a few more questions here, and then I can get to your one big message that you want to leave the audience with. So when it comes to how well, actually, I have another question just popped in my mind. Sometimes people say to get to an event early. What are your thoughts on that? Because I've heard get to an event early.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
What happens is we say, okay, the event starts at 5:30.
Mm-hmm.
I'll leave work at 5:15 and get there, and then they get stuck in traffic. We always underestimate how much time it's going to take us to get there with traffic or something like that. So yeah, I try to get there early. We can't always do it,
Mm-hmm.
but again, it's one of those deals where when you sometimes showing up really early again to help, show up real early. It's like, there's nobody here. Hey, you guys want me to help? You help check in people? You want me to just pitch in? Do you need some help? Like, sure. And then you meet the people at the event. And then what I found is when you do that sometimes,
Yeah.
that the people that you had met maybe helping out will, during or after the event, will take you and say, hey, you know what? Let me introduce you to this person. They'll do introductions for you, which is something we kind of didn't talk about, the opportunity sometimes these events to have other people introduce you to somebody. But I've had that happen to me before. I helped out an event, and somebody of some prominence, knew a lot of people. Hey, you know what? I want you to meet this person, because you're helping out at the beginning. You're telling them what you do. I do this. Like, I know somebody who you need to meet, and then they'll introduce you to them. So that kind of pays off sometimes too.
I love when that happens.
Yeah. Because you don't expect it, right? It's that unexpected, like, wow, this is great.
What would you say to someone who wants to start their own business event, and like, what's the magic or the secret sauce behind a good event versus some? I've been to some where I'm just like, it's kind of okay. And some are just like, wow, this is really cool. What would you say is like the difference?
That's a good question.
Thank you.
I think an event, the more people participate during an event, the happier they are. I've noticed. I've been an instructor for years, and I kind of equate it to an event in the sense that when I teach a class or do a seminar, if I can answer or have a good answer for maybe one question the attendee has, they go away happy.
Yeah.
It's a great event, because most people go to trainings, events, or whatever. They have a problem in their head they would like solved. It's just, maybe they don't ask, maybe they do. But if you can answer the majority of people's questions, just that one thing, they'll go, that whole 2 hours was worth my time, because I got that one thing answered.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like an event. If I went to an event and I met that one key person, that one key person that becomes part of my network, or we did some deal together, it's like, that was an awesome event, right? There may be some of the best events I've gone to have 3, 4, or 5 people in them. Nobody shows up and people go, this is not a good event. No, the exact opposite. Because I've been to some events where a large organization is throwing it. They've got 6 or 8 people there and only 4 people show up. But that gives me the opportunity to talk to all of those 8 people from that company and get to know them.
Yeah.
And one of them, I've won a few things, because they have all these giveaways and so few people show up. Everybody that shows up wins something, but that was a funny one. But, just introducing yourself and getting to know all those people led me to some contracts and doing work that's happened multiple times.
Yeah.
So don't walk into an event and go, oh, there's only a few people here. That doesn't make any difference. It's not quantity, it's quality is the key.
That's
You
true.
got to keep telling yourself, you have to tell yourself that.
Yeah. And if there's less people, it could be more of a specific niche that you could go after. So that makes sense. Few more, anything else you want to say? I'll leave it to you. Anything else you want to say when in regards to networking or technology, making life simpler? If there's any apps or anything we can use or ideas from that would be good too.
I mean, the key thing is start out with LinkedIn, connect, and use LinkedIn. Again, my own personal philosophy. People argue, have different opinions on it, but use LinkedIn as your business Rolodex. I mean, you should be able to. The people in LinkedIn should be the people that are part of your network. Don't just connect with everybody that requests. Make sure there's a reason to connect with these people, and that, because you want to be able to, anywhere you're at, just pull up LinkedIn and go, yep, okay, because I have to be honest, I'm bad at names. But with LinkedIn, you've got someone's picture there and you go, man, that person sure looks familiar. I know we're connected. So LinkedIn, oh, that's John, or oh, that's Becky. Oh, that's right. And then that's where and then boom, it all comes back to you because you've got all the information right there.
Yeah.
So use LinkedIn that way, have as a good solid role. Don't just, people used to just yes, accept everybody or don't accept anybody. Use it as a good, strong Rolodex that's with you all the time.
Yeah. I think if I could take one word away from this is to be strategic in how you do things.
Absolutely.
Sort of think it through. Yeah. That's
we put a lot of energy in our business and coming up with business plans and all this stuff, but we never have a plan for networking.
Yeah.
They just go to things and hope things will happen. They don't have strategic planning for networking. And again, like I said, I think it's one of the most cost-effective ways for small businesses to grow their business, because they don't have huge budgets. They don't have huge marketing budgets and all. So going out there, meeting people, keeping in contact with them, building the network. I mean, that's just key.
Yeah. Building relationships. And one last question, you mentioned you got to get people to know, like, and trust you. What are some ideas on how to do that for forming those real relationships?
Just try to help out any way you can and suggest help. In other words, so one thing I always use this story a lot. I've taught technology classes and non-technology classes for about 25 years now. And what I do at the beginning of all my sessions is I put my email and my phone number on how to get in touch with me.
Yeah.
And some people said, why do you do that? You're going to get all these calls. And it's nope. I put it up there and it's like, anybody needs any answers to questions on what I'm talking about, or even if you think I might be able to help you, email me or call me. Every class I do that. And at the end, I wrap up that way.
Yeah.
And you know how many, I guess over the years, I can probably count two hands how many people have actually done that.
Wow.
They're not asking for help.
Yeah. That's the difference, I think, is like, a lot of people don't
want to help, and I will go out of, I may not be able to answer the question for them.
Yeah.
And even in my technology company that I had, people would call me up and they'd say, hey, can you come out and do this and that? I would tell them, you know what? I can send you a link. I'll tell you how to do it in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
They go, well, bill me for that. I say, no, I'm just helping you, because what will happen is when they really needed me, and it always happens, when they really needed me, they'd call me and I would go out and do the big work, for them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I found. So helping, just going out and suggesting help, maybe you read an article about, you read an article about somebody you want to connect with. Say, did you know that this and this and this, or, just go out of your way to try to help people. And just it blows them away. One thing, because at first they're suspicious, to be honest. Some people are suspicious, like, wait a minute, because that used to happen to me all the time. What do you mean you'll just answer the question for me? I said, yeah, but then once you get to know them, and they're like, oh, that's just the way they are, the way he is. But it ends up turning into much, business in the long run. You're not losing anything except some time, but you're building a relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's like, I can't think of no better in business, no better use of time than helping people. It's going to come back at some point.
It always comes back. Yep. Always comes back.
So I'm going to try out a new question and then I'll ask you my final question.
Okay.
So, it's kind of a different world. Like you're in the tech startup world. So in your career, starting either teaching or SA Business Calendar, what's the biggest lesson that you've learned during that whole time?
You can't do things by yourself. Sometimes, even in the tech world, especially, you think there's enough tools out there that I could put them together and do it myself, but you can't do it. You can't do it all yourself. You got to have a team of people, and having that team is so key. Again, bringing it back to networking, you have a good network, but your network has a network.
Yeah, wow.
So it becomes a team, and someone can introduce you to somebody else. So it's a matter of having a team. And in essence, that's what a network is your close team of people that can help you when you need help, and vice versa. And to me, that's probably the one thing I've learned more than anything is, can't do it yourself.
And my final question here, I always ask everybody, is doesn't have to be related to networking, doesn't have to be related to technology. Okay. If you could just leave the audience with one big final message, what would that message be?
I'd still have to come back to network. Is like build your network, because there's nothing more valuable. Back to the teamwork idea. However, and if you don't want to call it networking, just say build a good network of friends.
Yeah.
Business. That's what I would say. Because there's a quote that I like to use in a lot of my classes, and it says the difference between where you are now and where you'll be at this time next year are the people you meet.
Wow.
So I always kind of keep that in the back of my head,
Yeah.
You never know who you're going to meet that could change, one person that you meet can change your business, your life, your career, whatever. So you keep remembering that encourages you to get out there and keep, meeting people and expanding.
And it's true. I think I've lived that, where I've met people, and it's just like, it opens a lot of doors for you. Like I met you, and now we're doing a live interview.
Yeah, we're doing an interview. Yeah, we never would have thought back then, right?
Yeah, it's like I wasn't doing interviews back then, and you never know. Like, just our world is such that you can create such amazing opportunities just by meeting someone. So many different things can happen. So it's a lot of cool. And I've made friends too. I've made a lot of good friends just from networking too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've made some great friends. We'll never do business together, whatever. It doesn't make any difference because it just made great friendships. Absolutely.
Yeah, very awesome. Anything you want to promote? Anything you want to say for people looking for events on how SS? I know you have the URL up there, but
yeah, if they, I do encourage you. The daily email is free, so sign up at sabusinesscalendar.com. Get that daily email and just get a snapshot of what's going on every day. You'll get an idea, and just pick an event at least once a week, especially now over on Zoom. Just pop on in and because a lot of people I know tell me I'm thinking about it, but they never actually do it. Yeah. But make a goal. Make a goal. Like my New Year's resolution was to connect with the people I hadn't connected with last year. Do the same thing. Say your New Year's resolution is to go to at least one event a month, but preferably one a week. And try that for 3 months, and it will change. It will change completely. It will change you. You'll meet new people. It'll change your thought process on a lot of things. It'll benefit you a lot. I guarantee it.
Definitely. Just one good event can really change everything, or meeting one person. So I'm signed up for that daily email. So I second that. Definitely sign up for that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. It's great. It's just great to know what's going on in the business world, especially if you're in business. It makes sense. But there's been some great events. Like I mentioned, the executive book review. I can remember some where it's just like, wow, that was fun and valuable at the same time for my business.
The ideal event.
Yeah. So very cool. I thank you very much. I'm so happy that you were able to be on my live stream interview today, on my YouTube channel. And any social media, how can people reach out to you if you want them to?
LinkedIn, Michael Espinoza on LinkedIn is the best. I'm heavy on LinkedIn because, again, building networks, and LinkedIn is just a great tool. I do have SA Business Calendar. Also, one thing I do, maybe if you don't mind, for those of you out there that have business events, it's free to post. A lot of people think we charge. We don't charge to post the events on there. So if you're you're a business owner, your business has business related events, something that a business professional can network at, learn something, please submit it. Go to the sabusinesscalendar.com. There's a post button there, post your event, or send it to us at events@sabusinesscalendar.com. And so we can get it up there. Just make sure you send us the link so people can register for it. We just aggregate it, so then we send them to your site. But I encourage you, because I want this, I've always wanted this platform to be a tool that a large company can promote their event, but a small company, up and coming new company, you just formed a company, you're starting to do events for the first time, can be on equal footing. It's a list, and you're on equal footing with everybody.
With the big dogs. I like that. That's awesome. I like that philosophy too of helping smaller businesses. It helps a lot. I might start doing events future. I was thinking about doing an event. I don't know if anyone wants to do this, but for YouTube creators in San Antonio. So I might do that.
It's a good idea. And there used to be a meetup. And I don't think it's active anymore. But I think that's a really good idea. There's so many people that want to do YouTube stuff, and you get together and help each other out, and no telling what'll come out of that. I bet you a lot.
I love it. So be strategic in your networking. I thank you so much, Michael, for being here. I very much enjoyed our conversation. Be strategic. Networking opens doors. You could be one person away from achieving your goals or achieving something that you want to achieve. So be curious when you're networking with people, and really just look for ways to help people. I think that's my main takeaway. Anything you want to add to that, Michael?
That sums it up. You summed it up well.
All righty. So thanks for watching very much. Hit like and subscribe. I do weekly interviews. Haven't been making videos recently. I'll tell you why later for personal reasons, but I'll be back very soon making pre-recorded videos. So thank you, Mike. Thank you, Michael. And thanks to my viewers. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks.